Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news. And as we continue to follow to Kari Lake Katie Hobbs election, news that comes out of that state regarding what took place in Maricopa County was taking place with lawsuits which will be in front of a judge here in February if it's not tossed out before that, but it's becoming harder and harder to ignore the amount of evidence that continues to show up day by day. And we had another explosive set of evidence that showed up here in the last day, and with this new set of evidence, I do not believe the judge is going to dismiss this case. It's going to go to him and we're going to see how that thing plays out. But let's go ahead and dive into today's video talking about the evidence that is being shown here. Katie Hobbs' lawyers tried to go ahead and get this case thrown out before it goes to the Supreme Court of Arizona. However, new evidence just dropped within the last couple of days that is going to make it very difficult for the judge to consider. Having this case thrown out, it needs to be heard. So let's go ahead and dive into this, coming to us from WayneDupree.com. Over here, it says explosive new evidence of Maricopa County election wrongdoing. That's right, we come down here, says from the American ticker, Kari Lake filed suit alleging election wrongdoing in Maricopa made the difference between winning and losing the race. What happened in Maricopa matters because Lake allegedly lost all of Arizona by a hair, over 17,000 votes. Significant wrongdoing in Maricopa should invalidate the whole election. So far, the judge hasn't tossed the case out. And after today's bombshells, he may not be able to do so no matter how much he wants to. Shelby Bush, who is chairman of We the People Arizona Alliance PAC, and the Maricopa County Republican Committee vice chair, reported to the Arizona State Election Committee that a review of the system log files from the tabulators in Maricopa on Election Day, where the county finally returned in response to the Freedom of Information Act requests, revealed that nearly 250,000 ballots were misread. That's right. You heard that right. 250,000 ballots were misread. Shelby Bush confirmed after reviewing the system logs files from the tabulators. On Election Day, nearly 250,000 ballots were misread with 446 tabulators across the county. There is no doubt the integrity of the election. Maricopa was definitely compromised, the staggering number of misreadings showing that the machines were failing at a spectacular rate. In addition, testimony established that the potential for mail-in ballots was extremely high because if 10% of absentee ballot signatures were manifestly mismatched, despite that the ballots were counted anyway. This tweet highlights just how some of the signatures were passed as their matches in order to allow 40,000 ballots to be counted despite their failing to meet the minimum prerequisites for counting them. Put that evidence together and well as prior evidence of wrongdoing in America, you can see the voting system that canceled out in-person votes, which living real register Republicans prefer, and overcoming the mail-in ballots, which can come in from anywhere, right? Always seem to go one way, Democrats, right? If Shakespeare were alive, he wouldn't be writing something as rotten in the state of Denmark and steady. Undoubtedly, it would be something rotten in the state of Arizona or the county of Maricopa. Now we'll see whether that rot extends to the state judiciary or not. Given my low opinion of judges, I'm sadly not optimistic. Kari Lake, however, still has hope, in which she has been a fighter this entire time, a fighter who continues to demand transparency to manage justice and demand that we are able to rehab our elections and the faith in our elections in this country. So we will continue to keep an eye on this if this goes to trial. We'll definitely, if we're able to get feed from that trial. And then, this is some big news. National Archives skips the deadline to disclose Biden classified scandal documents. On January 10, the House Oversight Committee demanded the National Archives hand over records detailing the interactions between Biden's attorneys and the Justice Department on or before January 24. Quote, "The National Archives has not produced the requested documents to the committee at this time." The committee spokesperson told reporters this week, quote, "Chairman Comer's request still stands and anticipates moving forward with the transcribed interview with NARA's general counsel soon." At least 3 establishment reports have recounted that Biden's personal attorneys agreed to hide the scandal from the American people and likely did not plan to disclose the scandal till it had leaked on January 9, months after the initial trove was found by Biden's personal attorneys on November 2. It is unclear why Biden's attorneys were initially looking for his illegally stashed documents at the Biden Penn Center. Not the White House nor the Department of Justice have provided a reason or cause for the search. The White House and DOJ were the only two entities with knowledge of the scandal before it became public. According to the New York Times, the White House officials are reportedly, quote, suspicious about how Biden's classified document scandal was leaked to the press and media. At least Stefanik is appointed to Weaponization of Government panel with other notable members. Stefanik, the third most senior House Republican, was given the position by Speaker Kevin McCarthy to help root out corruption and abuse across all facets of the entrenched federal bureaucracy. Quote, I am proud to serve on this critical select committee that will not only hold the DOJ and FBI accountable for their long-standing political weaponization against the American people, but the entire federal government, including the IRS, HHS, NIH, and many other agencies, Stefanik said in a press release. The high-profile subcommittee will also boast additional prominent members, such as Representatives Jim Jordan, Representative Thomas Massie, Chip Roy and Terrell Issa. Stefanik claimed to the DOJ and FBI for weaponizing the Biden administration against Republicans who have been victims of federal raids and suppressed by big media and other industries. Quote, the American people have witnessed the corrupt DOJ and FBI fully weaponized against the Biden administration's political opponents, as they conducted an unprecedented raid on President Trump's home, illegally paid Twitter to suppress stories for political benefit, and continue to cover up for the Biden crime family. She said the subcommittee assignments come after the House approved the panel in early January by a vote of 221 to 211. With all Democrats opposed, the committee will be chaired by Jordan, the chair of the Judiciary Committee. Democrats also get the chance to recommend members to the subcommittee as part of the House-approved resolution. Representative Jerry Nadler will automatically receive a seat because of his Judiciary Committee ranking membership. Josh Hawley introduces the Pelosi Act to ban congressional members and their spouses from trading stocks, the legislation known as the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments Act. References former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was called out last year after her husband Paul Pelosi bought up to $5 million in stock in a semiconductor company, writes, as the Senate was passing legislation to massively subsidize the semiconductor industry. Pelosi was also among a group of Republicans and Democrats who beat the market in 2021, with hundreds of millions of dollars in stocks trades. Hawley, who introduced similar legislation last year, said the practice must end, quote, for too long politicians in Washington have taken advantage of the economic system. They write the rules for doing profits for themselves at the expense of the American people. Hawley said in a statement, "You continues, quote, as members of Congress, both senators and representatives are tasked with providing oversight for the same companies they invest in, yet they continually buy and sell stocks, outperforming the market time and time again." Hawley's Pelosi Act would ban members of Congress and their spouses from holding, acquiring, or selling stocks while in office. Legislation gives members and their spouses 6 months after taking office to divest stocks they hold or put them in a blind trust. If members of Congress or their spouses are found to be in violation of the legislation's issues rules, they would have to forfeit any profits to the United States Treasury. Violators would also be prohibited from deducting those losses from their income taxes. The legislation gives the House and Senate Ethics Committees full power to fine members of Congress for which violations wouldn't be required to publicize them to the American people. In accordance with the bill, the Government Accountability Office would be required to audit the members of Congress to ensure they're complying with the rules. 20 Republican states sue the Biden administration over migrants' parole program. A group of 20 Republican-led states are suing the Biden administration over its migrant program that allows a set monthly amount of migrants to enter the United States from select countries. Texas, supported by 19 other states, and America First Legal filed the suit, asserting that the Department of Homeland Security had effectively created a visa program without congressional approval, quote, by announcing that it will permit up to 360,000 aliens annually from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua and Venezuela to be paroled into the United States for 2 years or longer and with eligibility for employment authorization. The state cited congressional limits on the DHS parole authority, asserting that they can only issue parole on a case-by-case basis, and that the agency lacks the authority to authorize the new program. Moreover, they state the DHS ignore the mandatory notice and comment rulemaking requirements outlined in the Administrative Procedure Act, and that the plaintiff states would suffer irreparable harm if the policy should go forward. The border crisis shows no signs of slowing down, with roughly 216,000 migrants crossing the border in December of 2022, an 11% increase over the November totals. The surge was largely driven by an influx of Cuban and Nicaraguan migrants, which the Biden administration took to indicate that its parole program for Venezuelans was succeeding given the decline of migrants from that country. Migrants from Cuba and Nicaragua and Haiti would benefit from the expanded parole process. On paper, the program aims to limit the number of uninvited arrivals at the southern border by creating a pathway for migrants to have their entry pre-approved while still at home in their countries. Quote, "We anticipate this action is going to substantially reduce the number of people attempted to cross our southwest border without going through the legal process," Biden said when he announced the program's expansion. "Us to send a battalion of tanks to Ukraine ahead of expected Russian offensive. The United States will send nearly 36 heavy tanks to bolster Ukrainian forces ahead of unexpected Russian offensive." Media reports on Wednesday said the White House had already been anticipating to send the tanks before Wednesday's confirmation. The 31 M101 Abrams tanks will equal roughly an entire Ukrainian battalion of vehicles. The tank delivery will also be accompanied by multiple M-ADA recovery vehicles, heavily armored landcraft that can repair and/or rescue other large vehicles in battle situations. The White House is also dispatching what is estimated to be 500 smaller support vehicles to aid in Ukraine's war effort. The White House official stated that the Pentagon will oversee, quote, "training, maintenance and logistics support for the M101 tanks." Another official stated that the training, quote, on how to use the tanks, which will take several months, will occur outside of the country of Ukraine. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. If you're up for it, I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.